Hello, fictional. Welcome to the Fiction Series X. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei was a lot like Ayanokoji? Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. The next morning I woke up and got ready for school. On my way to school, I checked my phone to see that I got a text from Sona. Club will not be happening today because of the events from yesterday. Get some rest for today. As I made my way into school I heard people whispering again. I looked around to see Riaz and Akeno talking in the main lobby. I guess they are the most popular girls in the school, I thought. I tried to make my way around them to get to my class. My Akeno spotted me. "Hey, Issei, come over here for a second," she said loud enough for everybody to hear. All the boys started glaring daggers at me while the girls started to gossip. Reluctantly I made my way over there. "What do you need?" Akeno flashed a large smile and responded, "We are going to hold a training session for a week starting tomorrow. If you'd like you can join us." "Akeno," Riaz started, "you can't just invite people for no reason to this. This is between my peerage and mine only, and since he doesn't want to help there's no reason for him to go." Is she really that dumb? I thought. Akeno just tried to help her by inviting me to go to the training camp with her. If I were to say yes, that could help build a better relationship between Riaz and I, and then I could help her out in the rating game. That was probably what Akeno was thinking. However, since Riaz turned it down initially, there's no reason for me to go. After all, I never planned to go in the first place. But before I could answer, someone else did for me. "Issei would love to go," said Sona, who appeared behind me with a smirk on her face. "Why do I keep getting roped into these things?" I asked. Then Riaz and Akeno started whispering in each other's ears, explaining what they should do. While they were doing that, Sona came up to me. "This is a great chance for you to get some battle experience in Issei. It's not every day we have some fallen angels that come into our territory that we can attack." I had to agree with her on that. After all, experience in using my boosted gear was going to be crucial to battles in the future. "Fine, we will accept you," Riaz started. "Just try not to get in our way too much." Sona was angry about that, but she kept her calm and added, "Also Saji and I will be coming as well." "What? Why? You think I can't train your servants good enough?" "I's class is going to start soon," I said as I pointed at the clock. "Fine, you can come along as well," Riaz said as she made her way to class. "Man, I really do hate her," I thought as I made my way back to class. When I got to class though, I noticed something. We were all given our assigned seats. I looked at the board to see who I was going to be sitting next to for the rest of the year, and it was Horikita. I turned to see her reaction, but she wasn't too bothered by it. Considering her options, being seated with me was probably one of the best choices she had. Class soon started afterward, but something I noticed throughout the day is that Sei-sensei kept staring at me. It wasn't like how your teacher looks at their student, but almost like she was trying to read me. "Class dismissed," Sei-sensei announced. Everyone, including me, started to get their stuff together, but that's when Sei-sensei started talking again. "I do, wait in here for a second, there are some things I need to talk to you about." I did as she said since I didn't have club and waited for everyone else to leave. "So how did you do it?" she asked sternly. I gave her a questioning look. "How did you become the student council VP? They said you helped out with their election, is that really true?" she asked coldly. Deciding that it was better to keep the lie going, I kept by with what they said. "Yeah, I helped organize a lot of speeches and stuff for them. I mainly did things from behind the scenes. I've been watching you in class lately and I don't believe that. You don't seem like the person who would just help someone out." "I do help out the few people I consider to be friends, Sona is one of them." After I said that, we stared each other down for a while and finally told me I was dismissed. When I opened the door to leave though, there was a small girl with white hair waiting right next to it. It was Kaneko Taoju, a member of the occult research club. "Come with me," she said in a monotone voice. I followed her all the way to the old school building. "So why am I here?" I asked in a monotone voice. "Open the door and find out," she replied. When I opened the door I saw all of the popular people in school there. There was all of Riaz, peerage, and Sona and Tsubaki. I grabbed a seat next to Sona on the couch located in the middle of the room. Tiba was leaning against the wall. Riaz was at her desk going through some papers with Akeno right behind her. Kaneko sat on the couch a few feet away from our couch, and Tsubaki was sitting on the same couch Sona and I were sitting on. I sat there quietly hoping someone could fill me in on what was going on. Before I could open my mouth though, a light blue magic circle appeared on the ground. Out of it appeared a beautiful woman in a maid outfit with grey hair. "Hello Sona," Tsubaki, and who I presume is the Red Dragon Emperor Issei Haidu. She started with a quick bow. "My name is Grafia Lucifuge, it's a pleasure to meet you. I am here on order for Surziches to keep things from getting out of hand during the meeting." I figured that we were going to be meeting the person Riaz was marrying, but I still wondered why I was here. I had nothing to do with this. Grafia looked at me with calculating eyes and tried to read me, but she most likely couldn't see anything about me from my face, since it was almost always that same. Then an orange circle appeared on the ground, and coming out of it was a man with blonde hair who was wearing a white button-up under a dark red blazer that was unbuttoned. "Riaz dear, did you miss Riser?" "'Cause Riser missed you lots, you know," he said as he quickly moved towards Riaz. "I did not miss you at all," she said with a stern glare. "Don't be like that, we have to do this marriage for the sake of the underworld, so you should at least try to like Riser." Riser said arrogantly. Riaz snapped back, "Well, we will see if you will be so prideful after our match." This put a grin on Riser's face. "Do you actually think you can beat Riser? Riser knows he gave you a week of prep time, but don't be so ignorant to the point where you think you can actually win." While Riser was talking, I decided to take a look at the people who came out of the orange summoning circle after him. Nobody really looked too important, but I did notice a few things. One is that they were all women, meaning that this guy was 100% a rich playboy kinda guy. Second, there was one person who stood out, that being a girl who had the same color hair as Riser and seemed more like she didn't belong there if anything. I guess there was also his queen who had purple hair and looked to be on par with Akeno. Recently Drake has been training me on how to tell the aura of people. The larger the aura, the larger the threat. Grafia, who was just watching this unfold, had an aura that could easily put Riaz and Riser to shame, even if they did a 2v1. After a while of Riser and Riaz back and forth, Riser finally decided to take his leave. "Alright, well, it is about time Riser should get going," he said arrogantly. "Good, and never come back," Riaz yelled. "DCH," he clicked his tongue, but of course before he left he had to turn his attention towards Sona, Tsubaki, and I. "And Riser will definitely enjoy fighting the Red Dragon Emperor the most," he said mockingly. "Wait, why am I involved in this?" I turned my head towards Sona, who had the same puzzled look on her face. But that Riser finally took his leave with the rest of his peerage. "So why am I fighting exactly?" I asked. "Your name was written down on the name of Riaz Gremory's teammates." Because she had never been in a raiding game before, she was allowed 2 handicaps, one being the 1-week time prep and the second being to invite one other person to join her. I noticed Sona and Tsubaki were staring at Riaz with an angry glare, clearly looking for an explanation. "Well, he did say he was going to join our training camp, wasn't he? In return for that, he has to help us beat Riser." Akeno, while she was still smiling, had an aura that looked like she was pissed off. "Well, I don't really have a choice anymore, do I?" I said. "If I decided to not go, then Sona and her peerage would lose major face for one of their members running away from a fight." Sona and Tsubaki knew this as well, which was why they were so angry with Riaz. "Well, now that is over, I will be taking my leave," Grafia started. "I look forward to seeing what you say." She then left the room with a small smirk on her face. After she left, though, the air was so tense that everyone was on edge, even Kaneko stopped eating her sweets. "How dare you, Riaz?" Sona finally yelled. "Not only did you put him down on your allies list, you also did sue when we already told you no." Riaz, sensing how mad Sona was, tried to calm the situation. "Sona, I am truly sorry, but I need all the help I can get for this one. I really am sorry," she said with a bow. Realizing that yelling wasn't going to do anything, Sona said in a cold voice, "Well, you owe us on now, remember that." After that, Riaz gave a nod. Then we sat there for an eternity before Akeno finally spoke up. "Well, let's get going to the train spot, okay?" With that, everyone took their leave to go pack their stuff. I was walking with Sona and Tsubaki to go pick up Saji. "I really am sorry about that, Issei. I know you don't like being forced to do these kinds of things. It's fine, nothing we can do about it now," I said as we finally picked up Saji, who was waiting in the student council room. After we picked up Saji and dropped off Tsubaki, the 3 of us made our way to a large mansion on a hill in the middle of nowhere. I don't really know how they fund this place, but at least we won't be bothered. As we walked in, we all quickly went to our rooms only to realize that we were 2 rooms short. Soon and Saji had nowhere to go. "If you don't mind, Saji, you can stay with me," Kiba said with a grin. Saji was hoping that he and Sona could share a room, but now that hope was lost. Since I knew that Sona was not in the mood at all to see Riaz, I invited her to stay in my room, which she accepted. But Saji yelled, "Press, you can't just share a room with him. I mean, what if he tries to do something weird with you?" Before Sona could speak, though, Riaz started first. "Yes, Sona, why don't you stay in my room?" As I was trying to say I will be staying in Issei's room, Sona said coldly. "Oh my," I heard Akeno whisper as her cheeks flushed a little bit. After we got our stuff settled in our room, we all came down for dinner, which Akeno and Kiba were making. After dinner was made, we all sat at the table while Riaz explained what we were going to be doing. "Issei, for the next week everyone is going to train you so you are ready to fight Riser. Kiba will teach you how to use a weapon, Kaneko will teach you sparring, and Sona, Akeno, and I will take turns teaching you magic." I was confident in beating Kaneko easily in hand-to-hand combat, even if she was a rook, but Kiba and the rest would be trouble, since I have no idea how to use a sword and I am still new to magic. But that being said, we all ate our dinner with small talk here and there. After dinner we all headed up into our rooms, where I faced quite the predicament. I could either let myself sleep on the bed and Suna sleep on the floor, since this is my room, or vice versa, because she is my master. So do you want to sleep on the bed or I asked. I thought we were going to both sleep on the bed. Sona replied. I had not expected her to be that straightforward, but it is a win-win situation I thought. Okay then, I replied. We thankfully had a rather large bed, so we didn't have to worry about anything awkward going on. Hey Sona? I asked. Ah. She yelled out. Sorry, were you sleeping? No, you just startled me a little bit, she replied nervously. Even though we had our backs to each other, I could tell that she was uncomfortable, so to make things easier for the both of us, I decided to ask again if I should sleep on the floor. Are you sure you don't want me to sleep on the floor? I mean, I wouldn't mind it, you know. Sona didn't say anything for a while, but finally said, you can still sleep here. Sorry if I'm a bit on edge, you're the first boy I have ever shared a bed with, so I just didn't really know what to expect. Sona replied with not as much nervousness in her voice as before, but it was still there. Alright then, I said as I finally went to sleep. When I woke up though I found myself in a position I never thought I would end up in. Sona was sleeping directly on top of me with her face using my chest as a pillow. Now that I could really get to see her up close, I really got to see how beautiful she was. I already knew she was pretty, but seeing it up as close is something else. That's when I heard footsteps marching towards our room. Sona, hey Sona. I tried to wake her up before whosoever came into our room. She woke up after I called her name the second time. Issei. She said tiredly, but once she saw what she was doing her face immediately went red and she pulled herself up. That was when Riaz opened the door of our room coming in. She yelled as she swung it open. She looked over at the bed and she even went red. To someone who had just walked in, this would probably look like something it wasn't. She was sitting directly on my stomach. What are you two doing? Riaz yelled loud enough for everyone else to hear. Sona quickly got up with a flustered face and went into the bathroom that was in our room. Although the two girls had bright red faces, mine was just the same as usual. And out of nowhere, Saji pooped in the door. You bastard, what did you do with Sona? He yelled. I didn't do anything. Riaz was just overreacting. I said calmly. Saji looked at Riaz and let out a sigh. Well, don't ever even think of doing that stuff with the press, got it? That was when Sona came out of our bathroom and pinched Saji's cheek. Saji, why are you in here? She asked calmly, but you could see she was bad. Well, I thought Issei did something to you, so I came here to see if you were alright. Well, as you can see I'm fine, so can both of you take your leave as we get ready? She asked in the same voice as before. They quickly left the room with that. Sorry about this morning. She said embarrassed. Don't worry about it. It's not every day I get to wake up like that though. I replied back. Sona's face quickly went red again. I'm gonna go change. She said as she grabbed her bag and went into the bathroom. This is going to be a long week, I thought to myself. I went downstairs after the whole incident from this morning. I didn't let it bother me though as I grabbed some cereal and sat down at the kitchen table. Sitting with me were Kaneko and Kiba. I didn't really know them too well, so I mostly kept to myself and started eating. Kaneko was eating some sweets, which was surprising since it was 9 o'clock in the morning and Kiba was just sitting with us. After a while, Kiba finally broke the silence. So Issei, I heard you took down the fallen angel leader, is that right? I was the one who took him down, but it was mainly thanks to my team, I replied in a monotone voice. Well, even if your team did help you, you were the main one who fought her, right? Kiba said. Yeah, I said with a nod as I kept eating. Well, I hope you are ready for today since I will be your first training partner, Kiba replied with a grin on his face. I nodded again as I finished up my breakfast. As soon as I did though, everyone else came downstairs. Okay Issei, you will first be training with Kiba to learn how to use a sword. Then you will come with me and learn magic. After that take a break for a bit, then you will have sparring with Kaneko, Riaz told me. Okay, I replied back. Saji, you will first be sparring with Kaneko and then be learning magic with Issei at the same time. After that take a break then train with Kiba. Understand? Riaz told Saji. Yes. Saji said way too enthusiastically. After that, I made my way towards the front yard with Kiba. When we arrived I picked up a wooden sword that Kiba threw to me as he picked up another one. Issei, have you ever used a sword before? Kiba asked. No, when I fight I prefer hand to hand, I said back. Okay, well let's see what you can do with a sword first, and I'll try to give you tips and tricks as we go, he said with a smile. I got into what seemed right for a sword position and waited for Kiba to make his move. He finally decided to after 10 seconds and sped towards me super fast while swinging the wooden sword at my neck. I put up my sword and blocked off his attack much to his surprise. Wow, you have amazing reaction speed. I can see how you were able to defeat the fallen angels now. Kiba said with a smirk. I quickly flung his sword back and then backed up a little bit. He charged at me again, however this time he was going for a job on my body. I quickly jumped back to dodge, but then he appeared behind me and swung his sword so it was right at my neck. Okay, I see what you need to work on, all you need is experience. Kiba started. Your performance really surprised me back there. Not only could you block my attacks when you have never held a sword before, but you kept track of my movements the whole time, even at the end when I was going full speed. That's not true. At the end you were moving too fast for me to see at the end, I lied. All of what he said though made sense to me. I have never used a sword before and I could track all of his movements, I just didn't want him to know that. But your eyes were tracking me when I went behind you, he replied back. If I could have really seen you I would have blocked or dodged your attack, I said. He looked at me trying to see if I was lying but soon gave up. Alright then, ready for round 2? He asked with a smirk. I nodded and we went at it again. A few hours later it was time to call this training to an end. Kiba beat me every time although I wasn't trying my absolute hardest. I got the hang of using a sword pretty quick, but I still acted like I was bad at using one. I would say though if we were to fight only using swords and I was giving in 100% I would win 50% of the time. I went inside to a study room where my next training was taking place. Riaz was wearing glasses and sitting in a chair next to a board. Saji was sitting in a chair a little bit away from the board with a table right in front of him. When I sat down next to him I looked at him only to see his face all swollen and bruised. Kaneko must have roughed him up good, I thought. Issei, I'm surprised you came back without a single injury, Riaz said surprised. We were using wooden swords so I wasn't too badly injured, I said back. Riaz then quickly went into her lesson about magic. First I will teach you about the main things in Devil Society. First are the 4 demon kings, Surzich's Lucifer, Seraphol Leviathan, Falbium Asmodeus, and Ajuka Beelzebub. These are the new demon kings, since all of the original demon kings died in the great war between the angels, fallen angels, and the devils. Riaz said. She then went into the other factions and what they were named. For the fallen angels their leaders were Azazel, Shemyaza, and Kakabiel. For the angels, there was God as their main leader, and the other leaders were Michiel, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael. After that, she started going into magic. First thing I am going to teach you is basic, it is how to sense other races. If you focus on your eyes and look at me you should be able to tell I am a devil. Riaz said. It sounded very vague, but I gave it a shot anyway. The feeling was weird. I could tell that she was a devil, but I couldn't exactly tell how. Maybe it was something to do with magic. Saji yelled, I can't get it to work. He started complaining. Don't worry, after a while this will become so natural that you will be able to sense other races without having to focus at all, Riaz said. So how do we know what other races feel like? I asked. You will just simply be able to tell. For example, if you see a random person on the street and can tell that they're not from a race you have sensed before you won't know what it is until you get confirmation. All races will sense like each other from the same race, so if you can sense I am a devil, you will sense the same thing from Sona or any other devil, Riaz said. After that, she just started teaching us what to do when we encounter other races and what not. It was fairly boring food, the most of it. After we finished it was about 3:30 and I headed up to my room. When I opened the door I saw Sona sitting on a chair in the corner of the room looking at something on the desk right in front of her. I didn't want to bother her since she seemed pretty into what she was reading. Before I left I sensed to see was Ray Sona was, and just like how Riaz said she sensed just like her. Riaz also mentioned that the stronger an enemy is the stronger that person will feel around you. I left quietly to not disrupt her and started walking around the mansion. My training with Kaneko was at 5 o'clock, so I had plenty of time to kill. As I was walking around I spotted Akeno who also spotted me. Oh hi Issei. She called out. Hey, I said as I walked toward her. I sensed to see what race she was to see the difference between reincarnated devils and pure-blooded ones. When I did though I felt that while she mostly had an aura of a devil, but also had an aura of something else. So what are you doing over here? Akeno asked. Oh, I was just walking around to kill some time. Can I come with you? I know my way around here pretty well so I can show you around, Akeno said. Hey, Drake, are you awake? I thought. Yes, I am awake, is something wrong? The dragon asked. Can you tell me what other race Akeno is? I'm sensing that she is not fully a devil, I replied. I noticed this fairly early on, but she is actually half demon and half fallen angel. Her fallen angel side is very weak right now, since she has not used her fallen angel powers for a while. The dragon said. Okay, thank you Drake, I thought before cutting the communication between us. I don't mind, I replied back to Akeno. This put a smile on her face as we walked around the mansion having small talk ever here and there. After walking around I said goodbye to Akeno and went to the backyard for some sparring with Kaneko. I heard from Kiba that you are a pretty good fighter. Let's see what you got. She said as she wrapped gloves around her fist. We didn't talk at all, once she put the gloves on we were both ready for battle. This time I took the first move and dashed toward her. I swung with my right arm at her face which she quickly dodged and then threw one back at my gut, which I was barely able to dodge. Not wanting to let her get the first move I started to kick her right in the face, but she blocked it with her arm. After that, we both backed up a little bit. Despite her small body, Kaneko was an absolute powerhouse. Even though she blocked my kick, my leg hurt from making contact with her arm. No wonder Kiba said you were good, Kaneko said. She had her other arm on the arm I just kicked, which meant I did do damage to her, which was good to know. I made my way back toward her again with a swing to her gut, which she dodged to the side, and then threw a kick toward my face, which I narrowly dodged by ducking under it. I quickly swooped her leg though before her other reached the ground and she fell. I went on top of her and raised a fist and slammed it down, but stopped right before her face. I got up after and gave her a hand. After she got up, Kaneko was too stunned to speak. She never thought that she would ever lose to someone who just become a devil. You are really good at fighting. How did you get so good? Kaneko asked in a surprised voice. A memory popped up of a man in his middle 40s saying, Issei, remember, in this world all that matters is you winning, it doesn't matter how it's done. I quickly snapped out of thought and lied to Kaneko I was just naturally gifted. Kaneko didn't seem to believe me for 1 second, but we kept on sparring until 6 o'clock. Even though it was supposed to be training for me, it seemed like Kaneko was learning a lot more than I was during these spars. While Kaneko was walking away, I sensed that she was a devil, but also had some unknown force inside her similar to a Keno, but definitely not a fallen angel. Greg, can you tell me what other race she is? I thought. Sorry partner, she feels familiar, but I can't tell exactly what she is, Drake said. Okay, thanks anyway, I thought before ending communication. After that, I went and had dinner with everyone there. Man, Issei, you sure are good at fighting, Kiba said while eating his food. Yeah, I couldn't even beat you once, Kaneko added. Thank you, I said as I kept eating. Saji looked even worse than before with new bruises and scratches everywhere. We all finished dinner and headed to our room to rest. After a few hours went by of just me on my phone, I decided to call it a night and go to bed, and Sona also decided to do the same. Hey Sona? I asked. Yes. Sona replied. She didn't seem like she was nervous like before. That was good. Who exactly is Akeno and Kaneko? I can tell that Akeno is part fallen angel, but what about Kaneko? Sona didn't say anything for a while, but finally decided to respond. What I'm about to tell you stays between us, okay? I understand, I said in my monotone voice. Akeno was born half fallen angel and half human. I don't know what happened after, but she was then reincarnated as a devil by Rias. The fallen angel she was related to was Barakiel. He is sub-leader class and is very strong. Kaneko on the other hand is half devil and half Nekomata. They both don't use their powers because of personal reasons they have with other people who are the same as them. Akenos being her father and Kaneko being her sister Kuroka. I see, I started. What power does Barakiel have? I asked. He has the power of holy lightning. She suddenly cut herself off after realizing what I was after. You're going to make her use her fallen angel side, aren't you? Yes, from what I have heard from Ria's riser is someone who is immortal and has the ability to create fire out of anywhere on his body. Since devils are very weak to light, if she could make light spears of doing something even better that involves light, we would have a much better chance of winning, I replied coldly. If that is how you are going to do this, I won't stop you. However, remember that I never told you any of this. Rias made it clear that whoever knew the secrets of Akeno and Kaneko are not allowed to tell anyone without her permission. Don't worry, I won't say a thing, I replied before going to sleep. The next few days went by the same as they did on the first day, each day, though I kept getting to know Akeno more and spent more time with her. On the last day after dinner is when I made my move. After everyone should have gone to sleep, I got up to leave and head to Akeno's room. Good luck, Sona said. I was surprised that she was still awake but still kept going. After a while, I finally reached Akeno's room, which was right next to Ria's, so I had to be careful not to be too loud. I knocked on her door very quietly, and after a few seconds, a very sleepy Akeno opened the door. Issei, what do you need? She asked half awake. Let's talk outside if you're okay with that, I replied. I made our way to the front porch with Akeno, who was wide awake and had a slight blush on her face. So what did you need to talk about, Issei? She asked. It's about Riser and how we are going to win, I said coldly, startling Akeno. Shouldn't we discuss this with everyone then? She said. No, us winning completely depends on you, and I think you know what you have to do, I said coldly. What are you talking about, Issei? She said as she was taken back by how cold I was. Normally I would just be monotone and show no emotion, but now I was being different. I was being cold with her and way more different from when we were talking before. Accept your fallen angel side. That is the only way we will win. This quickly shocked Akeno as she realized her secret has been discovered. How did you find out? She asked defeated. I can tell, but sensing it, even thorough, it's hard to see. You are clearly half devil and half fallen angel, I said. I will never use these powers that horrible man gave me. She yelled. You don't know what it's like to have your mother killed in front of you just because she was married to a fallen angel. Let me change the question then, I started. Which do you care more about, Rias and the rest of your team, or your pride? Hearing the question directly stunned Akeno as she now had a few tears rolling down her cheeks. She was trying to answer but nothing was coming out. You know what will happen if you lose this match, correct? You, Riaz, and Kaneko will all be forced to do whatever Riser says, whether you want to or not, I said coldly. Now Akeno was sobbing uncontrollably. I just don't know what to do. I don't want to have us belong to Riser, but I don't want to use my fallen powers either. She said while crying. I put a hand on her shoulder and said life is never going to be fair, and trust me I know that all too well, but that doesn't mean we just sit back and do nothing. If we stay stuck in the past then we will be left behind as everyone else moves on into the future. She stopped crying and processed what I said. I guided her to a bench on the front porch where we both sat down at. After a few minutes, she finally spoke up with a few tears still rolling down her face. When I was younger I had a wonderful family, a mom who loved me as well as a father who loved me. But that all changed when one day a bunch of people came to our house looking for my dad. I and my mom knew about fallen angels, I even had a pair of black feathered wings. But when the people found out he wasn't there they decided to kill us instead. My mom died protecting me and I was about to die when my dad finally returned and killed them. He looked at me and apologized, but I said that I hated being a fallen angel and I wish I was never born one. After that day even though we lived in the same house I never spoke to him. A few years later though Riaz offered me a chance to become a devil which I jumped at immediately, Akeno said with her tears starting to increase again. I didn't say anything, but I embraced her in a hug and let her cry until there were no more tears left to cry, but even after I still kept her in a hug. Do you think we can really win and I use my powers? She asked. Of course, all you have to worry about is Riser, I'll take care of everything else, I replied. This put a small smile on Akeno's face. I let her out of the hug and said well, it is pretty late out we should be getting to bed, I said in my regular monotone voice. Was the you back there the real you? Akeno asked. I think I'm always me, I replied. Are you going to stop hanging around me now because you know how I really am? She shook her head. Even though you surprised me a bit I'm glad I found someone who can tell me what I need to be told, she said as she grabbed my hand and led me upstairs. Akeno, you just went past my room, I whispered. I know you're going to sleep in my room for tonight, after what you told me I'm sure you can understand right? She said with a blush. Sona is going to be pissed I thought. I let out a sigh of defeat as we went inside her room and fell asleep on the bed with her coddling me. Well, this solves tomorrow's battle with Riser, but I feel like I'm going to be in big trouble tomorrow for this I thought as I finally went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning Akeno was fully embracing me, but she was still asleep. I quickly got out of her hug and peeked out of the room to make sure no one saw me leaving. Once I made sure everything was good I left the room, but thanks to my luck as soon as I left I saw Saji, the person who would make the biggest deal out of this. He had his jaw dropped looking at me. Do I try to explain? That may just make matters worse though I thought. I quickly closed the door to Akeno's room and tried to make my way past Saji, but before I could yelled out. Issei, did you sleep with Akeno? Did you really have to yell so loud everyone in the house could hear? I thought. Before I could answer though Riaz came out of her room looking pissed from what she just heard. Issei, did you really do that with her? Riaz asked angrily. No, it's just one big misunderstanding, a very sleepy Akeno said. That's when everyone else came over into the hall. Then why were you in her room? Riaz asked coldly. I just wanted to discuss a battle strategy, I replied. I looked over at everyone else. Kiba had a small grin as he found this kinda funny. Kaneko looked the same as ever, but Sona was clearly the most upset. She was clearly pouting since she didn't expect me to sleep in her room, even if she knew that I was going to see her last night. What strategy did you guys discuss without me? Don't forget as the king I get to decide what we do. My word is final, Riaz replied. We'll talk about it right before it starts. Anyway, isn't Grafia supposed to be here now? Akeno chimed in. A few minutes later Grafia showed up with a magic circle under her. Hello everyone, please stand on the teleportation circle to be teleported to the raiding game battlefield, Grafia said. With that, we all stepped on the teleportation circle and were teleported away. When we arrived I realized that we were in the occult research club room in the old school building, but in another dimension. Now that we have arrived I will be taking Sona and Saji to the spectators area, Grafia said. Issei, I wish you the best of luck, not that you'll need it though, Sona said with a smirk. Saji waved goodbye and the three of them teleported away. We waited in the room for a bit when Grafia's voice went through a giant speaker. Hello everyone, my name is Grafia Lucifuge, and I will be the referee of this battle. Ria's team is located in the occult research club room in the old school building, Riser's team is located in the student council room. Both teams will have 20 minutes to make a plan, and to set things up, after the time has passed I will let you know and the game will begin. With that, we all sat down on the two couches, and Riaz started to talk. Alright, I have come up with a plan to defeat Riser, so listen carefully. Issei and Kaneko will go into the gym and take care of any people in there. After they do that Akeno will blow up the gym after Issei and Kaneko leave killing and the people still in there. Kiba will go into the forest and set up traps. I will face Riser alone. Everyone seemed content with the plan until Akeno spoke up. Shouldn't we also listen to Issei's plan as well? We have plenty of time. Rias obviously didn't want to listen, but she allowed it anyway. With that everyone sat down and looked at me. Here goes nothing, I thought. To put this plan simply, it will hopefully be a fast knockout. Kiba and Kaneko will go into the gym and take care of everyone in there, after that they will go around and take care of the other pieces all over the area. Rias will go immediately to Riser and face him down right away. I will take care of their queen, and Akeno will stay back until I beat the queen. After that I will join Kiba, and Kaneko and Akeno will join Rias. Everyone looked at me in disbelief. Even though the plan could work on paper, the chances of it actually working was very slim. However, what most people didn't know was that Akeno was going to use her fallen angel powers. I kept it a secret from everyone since Riser's team could be listening, but Akeno knows what to do. There is no way that's going to work. Rias yelled. Sona went on and on about how smart you are, but you're actually an idiot. I can't really fault her for thinking that. At first glance, this plan seemed crazy and foolish, but if you knew the hidden ace then this plan seems genius. Hold on Prez, Kiba said. Issei, this plan is awfully reckless, you know that right? I nodded my head, but that Kiba picked up on something, that there was more to this plan than what I said. Kiba had been training with me for the past few days, and while I never went all out against him, he could tell I'm not the type to make foolish decisions. Kaneko seemed to be feeling the same way. But Issei, what are you hiding that could change this plan so much? Kiba wondered to himself. I say we go along with Issei's plan, Kiba said, surprising everyone except me. Kiba? You can't be serious, you know that plan will never work. Rias yelled. 2 minutes remaining. Graphia's voice said. Damn, Rias muttered under her breath. Here everyone take one of these, it will make us be able to talk to each other telepathically. It was a small earphone that went right into our ear and then disappeared. How convenient was this? I could now tell them the full plan, I thought. I knew that Rias would not be on board with this plan, but I couldn't talk about Akeno using her fallen angel powers without having to worry about Riser secretly listening in on our conversation. Since Graphia said that we can set things up, that pretty much meant do anything but attack the other team, so there would be a chance that they could use magic to listen in on us, but now that we have these we don't have to worry. Listen up, Akeno said to everyone telepathically. I am going to use my fallen angel powers for this fight. That is why Issei thought of this and why it will work as well. After she said that, everyone's eyes went wide. Nobody had expected her to say that, not even Rias, who knew her the most. Because they heard that Akeno was going to use her fallen angel powers, that made everyone start to like the plan, so much that Rias couldn't say no. Fine. We'll go along with your plan, but if it goes wrong you're going to pay. She said angrily. Match starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and begin. Graphia said. And with that everyone took their leave to get to their spots. So full frontal attack plan, huh? Riser said aloud. Riser had not expected his future wife to be so dumb. But the info he learned thanks to Yubaluna's spell, he divided up his forces accordingly. He would send 2 knights and 2 rooks to take care of Kiba and Kaneko, who would be in the gym, and sent all 8 of his pawns to attack Akeno, who would be staying at the home base for a while. He decided that he would defeat Rias himself, and that Yubaluna could take care of the Red Dragon Emperor. Hekaki, how foolish can you be, Rias, to follow such a dumb plan, Riser chuckled to himself. I quickly headed out to try and find their queen when a purple-haired woman was flying a few meters ahead of me. Nice to meet you, Red Dragon Emperor, Yubaluna said. Are you Riser's queen? I replied with an apathetic voice while activating my boosted gear. Yes I am, and I will also be your opponent. She yelled while pointing her staff forward. I quickly jumped to the side and looked to where I just was. There was a giant hole from an explosion she just made. I guess they don't call her the bomb queen for nothing, I thought. Boost. I quickly activated my devil wings and started to fly up to her. I learned how to fly thanks to Sona during the training camp, since flying would be very useful for this battle. I then threw a punch at her face that pushed her back a bit. Not bad for someone who just before a devil, she said while wiping the spot I just punched her. She then pointed her staff forward and let off a barrage of explosions which I dodged by flying around. 4 of Riser's pawns eliminated, Graphia's voice said through a speaker. Yubaluna was thrown off by the, so I used a time and sent a razor-sharp water blade right at her face, which she barely dodged as it scratched the side of her face. DCH, she clicked her tongue. 4 of Riser's pawns eliminated, Graphia's voice said once again. That meant that he had no pawns anymore. Boost. But how? That doesn't make sense. Even if she is a powerful demon, for her to take on 8 pawns alone is just insane. Yubaluna said, shocked. She didn't let her guard down this time, but I still made my move as she kept casting bomb magic right where I was that I had to keep dodging. This time I flew right at her and slammed my fist right in her gut, making her cough up blood as she slammed to the ground. I flew down next to her to see that her body was slowly turning into a light blue particle. In raiding games, it's very unlikely to die right before you get hit with a fatal blow or have severe enough injuries your body gets teleported to a health clinic to treat your wounds. With her disappearing, I started to make my way toward Kiba and Kaneko, since they were both doing a 2v1 right now. Once the queen's defeat was officially announced, Akeno would make her move and help out Rias with Riser. As I started flying away though, I got hit in the back with a large explosion. What the hell? She should be too weak to move. I thought as I fell to the ground and looked back at Ubaluna. Boost. Ubaluna had just thrown a vial to the ground and looked like she had no injuries. I guess no one told you what Phoenix tears are, huh? She started. They are made by Riser's family and can heal any injury once drank. I got back up and looked at her. Why did nobody tell me about those? That would have been useful info. I thought. Ubaluna lifted her staff into the air again and let off more explosions than you could imagine. I was narrowly dodging everyone. Using the smoke off all the explosions though, I managed to surround her in smoke and she couldn't tell where I was. She smiled at this and said, "A cunning one, are we?" She then sensed the area for demonic energy. "He found you?" she said as she launched a large explosion, but to her surprise she hit nothing. Then before she could react, I let out a giant fire breath right behind her, sending her out of the game. I managed to deceive her by placing a decent-sized area of lingering magic that would have no effect on anything, but if you were scanning for demonic powers, that would be the only thing you sensed, because I had enough boost that I mainly had the aura of a dragon, and because she was looking for demonic energy, she assumed the lingering pile of magic would be me. Riser's queen eliminated, Graphia said. Ria's rook eliminated, Graphia continued. But that I took off toward Kiba since he was now in a 4v1 and Akeno should be on her way to Ria's. After around 40 seconds I found Kiba was covered in scratches and had both knights fighting him while the two rooks were just sitting and chatting inside the gym. Kiba noticed me and didn't say anything while I snuck in through the back door and sent water blades to the two rooks. Only one of them managed to dodge, the other got pulled out because she wouldn't have been able to dodge and then would be decapitated. My sneak attack had distracted the two knights fighting Kiba, so Kiba was finally able to get some breathing space. "That was a bit dirty, don't you think?" one of the rooks said. "All is fair in war, right?" I replied. While that conversation took place, Kiba made his way next to me. "Sorry, Kaneko and I weren't able to get much done," he started while catching his breath. "We were too focused on defense to get any real attacks in." "Are you still able to fight?" I asked. "Yay, but I can only hold out against one opponent for right now, so you are going to have to fight too," Kiba said. I sided that fighting 2-on-1 wasn't impossible, but it would be a pain to deal with. Boost. "Alright, I'll take a knight and the rook, you got the other knight," I said before charging at the rook. I aimed my fist for her face, but she dodged and sent a kick right at my face. I grabbed her leg while it was coming toward me and threw it at the knight who was coming to assist her. "No wonder you defeated our queen, you sure are a tough one," the knight said. I didn't say anything but waited for them to make their next move. Currently, Kiba and the other knight were going at it and I had lots of boosts charged up, so I was a big threat to them right now. The two girls suddenly came at me, one from each direction. The knight got there first and swung her sword right at my neck, which I dodged, but when I did, the rook was about to slam a kick into my side. I jumped out of the way to dodge it. Immediately after, they came at me from two different directions again, but this time I sent some water blades at the rook to halt her movements, since she had to dodge them. As soon as I finished sending the water blades, the knight was ready to swing her sword down on me, but I was ready. I turned around and kneed her in the gut, which made her get the wind knocked out of her. I then summoned a water blade and landed a huge cut all across her body, making her leave the game. One of Riser's knights eliminated, Graphia said. Now it was time for the rook. I could sense her coming right behind me, so I turned around with a backhand right across the face and sent her flying. I quickly gave chase and slammed my fist into her face as she was trying to get back up, rendering her unconscious and making her leave the game. One of Riser's rooks eliminated. One of Riser's knights eliminated. One of Riser's bishops eliminated. I looked over at Kiba, who clearly was not in a good state. "Sorry, I can't do more. I'll leave the rest to you, Issei," Kiba said with a smile before disappearing. One of Ria's knights eliminated, Graphia called out. But that, it only left me, Ria's, and Akeno versus Riser, and one of his bishops. I flew over to the roof of the main school building to see the battle taking place. I knew that Ayanokoji had to win this game. I definitely didn't want Riser to use all of us like playthings, but I also didn't want to let down Issei's expectations of me. I quickly sent down another holy lighting right where Riser was standing, who seemed to be freaking out right now. Impossible, how did Riser's whole peerage get taken out?" he yelled in rage. His bishop was Ravel Phoenix, who was trying to calm her brother down, but it was clearly not working. When the battle between us just started, Rias was in pretty bad shape, and just to show how strong he was even without his queen, he let me hit him with a lightning strike that he didn't know was holy. He immediately started coughing up blood, and his regen was working way slower than it normally does. He started dodging the lightning strikes, with Rias adding more pressure with her aura of destruction. While I did have to take care of all 8 of Riser's pawns, they were light work since holy energy was so strong against demons. I guess Issei was right when he said we could win if I used my power. Even though I did have to do more than just fight Riser as Issei said, I was still in tip-top shape, striking down lots of holy lightning at Riser. This had me thinking though, Issei was definitely an interesting person. He never showed emotions, and yet I felt attracted to him. A big part of it was what he told me the night before, but I couldn't help to always think about him since the first day we met. I quickly got those thoughts out of my head though since I was in the middle of battle. I sent down multiple lightning strikes which Riser dodged, and then he sent out fire out of his body right at me and Riaz. Riaz defended us with her aura, but I could still feel how hot these flames were. After the flames settled down, Riaz surrounded Riser with her aura, making him have to fly to dodge it. But because he had to go straight up, he immediately got struck by holy lightning and got sent back down to the roof. Then Riaz's aura swarmed him and started to destroy his body as he started coughing up blood. Right before I could send another holy lightning, Ravel stood in front of her brother with tears in her eyes. "I know we have Riser Phoenix peerage forfeit," Ravel said with tears streaming down her face. Riser was still conscious but too weakened to say or do anything. "Winner of the match. Riaz Gremory," Grafia said. But that Issei watched from the roof of the gym as Akeno and Riaz celebrated their win over Riser. Akeno spotted me soon after and started flying toward me and Riaz close behind. "Issei, I cannot truly thank you enough for what you have done for me, as well as for what you have done for Riaz and the rest of him." "Thank you," Akeno said while bowing her head. "I must admit that your plan was a smart one. I guess we owe you one, huh?" she said with a small blush on her face. Then a portal opened up with Grafia, Sona, and Saji all coming out of it. "Boo Issei." Saji yelled, "You were awesome back there. You were destroying Riser peerage completely." While Saji was ranting about how well I did, I noticed Sona was looking more serious than usual. She looked at me signaling that we would talk about it later, so I brushed it off for right now. "Issei, you did an outstanding job today, well done," Grafia said. "Thanks," I replied. While everyone was cheering about how they won, I just wanted to go home, so I just sat on the roof of the gym with Sona next to me. The rest of the group had gone to go check on Kibanad Kaneko, so now it was just me and Sona. "Do you want to talk about it now?" I asked while looking into the purplish sky that this arena was set in. Sona looked around to make sure no one was around, then started talking. "I have a feeling that we made an enemy out of one of the big households. I don't know what we did, but apparently, Diodora Astaroth insisted on watching this match. And other households normally mind their own business when it comes to things that don't involve their own house. But not only did Diodora insist on watching, he was even sending out killing intent to me, so much that Grafia was assigned to sit next to me. Things got out of hand. He was mainly looking at you though throughout the match. It could be one of his outbursts, but you can never be too careful," Sona said seriously. Assuming that they didn't have any involvement with the Phoenix family could only mean that what angered him is what happened at the church. This means he most likely is going to betray the demons to side with the Fallen or some other force, I thought. I kept this to myself for right now, since throwing out random accusations without any definitive proof is never good. "Alright, well, can you drop me off at my place?" I asked. I didn't know how to use magic circles yet and it was already 1 o'clock in the morning. "Sure, but do you mind if I crash at your place for tonight?" Sona asked. "That's fine, but why?" "Well, it's already super late and I'm already fairly tired," Sona said with a small blush on her face. I could tell she was lying, but I didn't really care so much, so I let her stay over. Sona then teleported us outside my house, which we had to sneak into to not wake my parents up. After which I got out a Futon for Sona and then started to close my eyes when Sona whispered to say, "I know it's a bit weird asking, but can I sleep on the bed with you? I can't sleep on the floor," she said with her face super red. Sure, even if my bed was not big enough for 2 people I didn't really care since I wanted to go to sleep. But that Sona snuggled in bed next to me and we both fell asleep. End of the part 2. So how was this story? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this story with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.